25 News Now presents Storm Prep 2023 with your first warned storm team. Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez, Meteorologist Trey Mining, and Meteorologist Howie Gordon. Storm Prep 2023.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. I'm Maclovio Perez, Chief Meteorologist at 25 News Now. I'm here on Matagorda Bay, one of the chief bodies of water in our region, and over the course of millennia, it has seen many, many hurricanes. Now, all of us probably remember where we were during Hurricane Harvey, which was the last one that came through here. So as we prepare for the upcoming season of 2023, we need to take into account what we have learned, what we know, and how to get ready for the next storm. Remember, the time for storm preparation is now, before the storm arrives. In the history of Texas hurricanes, the story of Indianola is unique. Indianola was right up the coast here. It was the second most important shipping port on the Texas coast during the 1800s. It was located right here at Powderhorn Bay. But as history would tell us the story, back-to-back hurricanes literally wiped Indianola off the map. We found one family in Cuero who was deeply affected by the arrival of that historic storm. Up until 1875, Indianola, Texas was one of the chief ports on the Gulf Coast. So important to the development of early Texas, Indianola was a port of call for major steamship lines. But a hurricane in 1875 dealt Indianola a severe blow. Many of the wooden homes, the wooden piers, all were blown to bits. The townfolk began to rebuild, but only 10 years later, in 1886, another hurricane came, and this time it was fatal to Indianola. One of the families of early Texas who lived in Indianola was the family of Captain Henry Shepard, captain of the Morgan Steamship Line. The storm caused the death of several of his family members and scattered the Shepards across the coastal bend. On Broadway Street in Cuero, Texas, is this home. It is now the county museum, but this house was also witness to the great Indianola hurricanes over 100 years ago. After the storm destroyed the port, the residents picked up whatever pieces they could, brought them to Cuero, and set up their new home. Today, the Shepard family are the descendants of those who had to escape the destruction of what happened to Indianola.
It killed two of my great-great-grandmother and one of her children. And if Indianola had survived and thrived, we wouldn't be in Cuero. We'd probably still be in Indianola.
The home has been on this lot since the 1880s, and it has served as the Shepard family ever since.
Our family was always together, extended family, joking and telling the history of the house and that there were ghosts and scaring us to death.
The home had been destroyed in the hurricane of 1875, but the ancestors found as many pieces as they could and shipped them to Cuero, where they rebuilt their home. This home is filled with many mementos and many memories of the impact of Indianola.
This barometer was Captain Henry Shepard's, and they had it in Indianola during the hurricane, and as it was told to us, they were watching the barometer as it started dropping, and that was one of the few ways they had to tell what was forthcoming, and it happened to be a devastating hurricane, and it survived.
That barometer that the Shepard family was looking at the night of the Indianola hurricane was one of the few pieces of technology that was there that could help them, warn them of the impending doom. Well, today we have a wealth of technology and communication. All of that helps us alert everyone and make sure that we minimize the loss of any lives. The fact that there's going to be another hurricane on the Texas coast is not a question, it's a fact, and we all have to be ready for it. Grab your cell phones, scan this QR code, our quick response code, to download Crossroads Today app. You can watch us anytime, anywhere, get breaking news, alerts, and submit news, tips, and videos to us. And during the storm, you'll get updates right away. Coming up after this short break, we'll take a look at how the Crossroads is getting ready for the upcoming season. Meteorologist Trey Mining met up with some of the county leaders and city leaders who are always preparing for the next storm. Welcome back, everybody. Today, fortunately for us, our city and county officials realize that we all have to be on the same page when the storm arrives. Communication is key, but preparation is also fundamental. Recently, the Mid-Coast Hurricane and Disaster Preparedness Conference gathered here in Victoria, and meteorologist Trey Mining and I sat in through some of those very important discussions.
One thing for sure, disasters have happened before and they will happen again. Knowing this, knowing what to do to get ready for such an event is important. And this is where education comes in. We here in the Crossroads have access to a wealth of information to help us get ready for such an event. One of those is by attending the annual Disaster and Hurricane Conference here in Victoria. A wealth of information right here in our own backyard.
This is our 22nd year for our conference, the Mid-Coast Hurricane Disaster Conference. It's a great opportunity for networking of our professional organizations, emergency management, first responders.
Richard McBrayer, Victoria Emergency Management Coordinator, agrees that this conference has one main goal.
The more prepared we are, the more resilient we're going to be.
Tivoli Assistant Fire Chief Marcus Torres travels every year to learn the latest on how to help his community prepare.
It's very educational. It's good that Victoria County puts it on. It shows that there's a lot of agencies here, not only just local, but state, regional, all over the place that are here just trying to make sure that everybody has the awareness of the resources that they need to have.
Perhaps one of the most anticipated participants is the National Weather Service. John Metz, meteorologist in charge with the National Weather Service in Corpus Christi, says knowing what to expect before a storm arrives is key to survival, while stressing that no two storms are alike.
We don't want folks to be complacent. We want folks to know what a hurricane brings, the various hazards, including wind, storm surge, flooding rains, tornadoes, and how to prepare their families and their homes and businesses for such an event.
Metz says tracking hurricanes and the technology used is always improving.
New hurricane models that are starting this year for this season that we're looking forward to seeing how those prove to be effective. Our current NOAA computers can process 12,000 trillion calculations per second to run our weather models and update those hourly.
The experts say nothing replaces being ready and prepared before the storm arrives. Bill Reed, former director of the National Hurricane Center, agrees.
But you need to know whether you need to evacuate. If you don't need to evacuate, you need to. If you do need to evacuate, make sure you have a plan for making sure your car always has gas, tires are in good shape, that sort of thing, and what you're going to take with you. If you're not going to evacuate, I recommend you have water and basic food stuff to go by for at least a week before things get back to semblance of normal.
Another of the many things discussed at the conference was what to do with our area hospitals and with citizens who need help evacuating. Are these hospitals ready to hunker down in the middle of a direct hit? Do they have backup power? And who will actually stay behind to weather the storm? Our news reporter Adarius McCormick has the story.
Here in the Crossroads, we're no strangers to severe weather. Port Lavaca has seen several tropical storms. Tropical Storm Beta caused flooding in 2020, while back in 2017, Hurricane Harvey peaked right here in this town. The town's hospital Memorial Medical Center stayed open through the most recent storms. We spoke with the chief nursing officer and chief executive officer about Port Lavaca's preparedness then and now.
And we were hit. We were without electricity for
about a week.
Yeah, a little over a week, I think. And at that time, we were on an old generator that could only power critical equipment, and so
Memorial Medical Center remained open during Hurricane Harvey in 2017. Port Lavaca dealt with heavy winds, flooding, and power outages for almost a week. There's a possibility this could happen again. CEO Rashonda Thomas says their team was and is ready for anything.
And the staff is trained mentally and physically prepared to handle the surge and making sure that the patients are not overlooked or neglected, that you're always limited sometimes when disasters take place. And so having a lot of that backup equipment, such as the generator that Aaron mentioned, is crucial for us.
An incident commander steps in to lead MMC's team during these instances. According to FEMA, the IC is responsible for the overall management of the incident. Everyone falls in line and allows the IC to lead because this person knows what's best in stormy situations.
Me being the CEO, if I'm not the incident commander, then I follow the incident commander. So my title, even though it is important, it's not important when we're dealing and we're calling an incident drill or we're actually in the full mode, and my incident commander is in charge at that point.
Anything could still happen. However, they are not afraid at all. The Crossroads has seen heavy rain, flooding, hail, and more. They know everyone is not capable to evacuate, so they are confident that they can keep their patients and staff safe.
Because we've done it. We've done it several times. I've been here through several hurricanes, and it's just been safe.
Anything can happen, right? But what we've experienced and what our staff has experienced has been a solid building, the preparation work that goes into it to keep us even more secure and safe during those crises or times of disaster. Then we're ready for that.
With all of their training, with all of their procedures, with all of their loyal staff, this hospital can stand the rain. Reporting in Port Lavaca, I'm Adarius McCormick, KAVU-TV 25 News Now.
Every year we produce this hurricane tracking guide. It is in English and Spanish, and you can pick it up all over town. Now, it has important phone numbers, definitions, and you can track the hurricane along with us. It also has the names of the 2023 tropical cyclone names. You can learn more about evacuation routes here in our area. Well, stay with us. Still ahead, 25 News Now Sunrise anchor Carolina Strain has more on how to prepare your home for the upcoming storm.
Hurricane maps can be picked up at these locations. In Victoria, Clayton Homes, TISD, Palace Bingo, Victoria All Sports, Wind Services Electrical, Wholesale Tire Company.
Thank you for staying with us as we continue our Storm Prep 2023. The 25 News Now team understands that information is valuable, especially before the storm. There really is no excuse not to be ready for the arrival of the next storm. After all, if you moved to Canada, wouldn't you take a winter coat? In many cases, people wonder, is their home really prepared to weather the storm? Especially if we're talking about mobile homes. We sent our 25 News Now team morning anchor, Carolina Strain, to talk to the experts to find out what is necessary to get mobile homes ready for the next storm.
Living along the Gulf Coast, you want to make sure wherever you're seeking shelter is a sturdy structure. These manufactured homes at Clayton Homes here in Victoria are designed to be strong, even in hurricane conditions. David Medina is the manager of Clayton Homes. He says, while evacuating is always the best plan, you have a good chance of surviving a hurricane coming through in one of these manufactured homes.
These homes that we sell at this store are wind zone 2 homes, meaning they can withstand winds of 100 miles per hour. And the houses are strapped all the way around and on the ground. Also, this particular home is outfitted with 2x6 walls, as opposed to most stick-built houses are on 2x4s. So this gives you extra strength, extra stability, and they're fully insulated. So it's a great home, and I would be myself comfortable to live in this near the coast.
Dennis Partita, who also works at Clayton Homes, says a room without windows is best.
I would definitely go with the most enclosed place. So more than likely like the restroom or maybe even a closet or something like that where you're enclosed and there's no windows near you. You never really want to stay close to windows or doors or anything like that, especially during a hurricane.
A manufactured home also allows replacing any damaged pieces to be an easy process because they can order the parts needed, no problem.
We are excited to help people in the Crossroads area. We are from here. We're here long term. This isn't just something we do for the next week. We're here to stay. If you were to come by our facility, you would get a first class experience. We'll treat everybody with respect.
Remember, if your local leaders call for a mandatory evacuation, it's best to leave. Carolina Estrain, KAVU-TV 25 News Now.
And now an urgent message to all of our viewers in the coastal region. Hurricane season is now, and many of you know that these storms can bring devastation and destruction. That's why it's critical to be prepared for an evacuation. In the event of a hurricane, Local authorities may issue mandatory evacuation orders to ensure the safety of our residents, but being ready to leave at a moment's notice takes a little bit of planning. You need to know what evacuation route you're going to take, what medications you need to take with you, where you're going to go, and what you need to do if we are forced into an evacuation. 25 News Now team reporter Darius McCormick has more on what the experts recommend.
It's June, which means it's hurricane season. Hurricane season could force the community to leave. Let's take a look at how we should evacuate. We visited CrossRoadsToday.com. There we found a complete list of instructions for evacuation from the Texas Hurricane Center. Step 1, build a kit. Pack food, water, and essential supplies for your family. Include a first aid kit and copies of your important documents like a driver's license or a social security card. Also, plan for any specific medical needs as well. Step 2, create a plan with your family. Communicate with your loved ones about many important issues.
Hey, Darius.
Hey, Karina, what will we do in case of a hurricane?
Where should we go if we have to evacuate?
Who would be our family emergency contacts?
How would we communicate if phones aren't working?
Step 3, review evacuation routes. We found the CROSSROADS map on the Texas Department of Transportation's website. You also want to always make sure the road conditions are safe before you hit the highway. Step 4, evacuate. When you're on your way out, there's several resources available for the community. Texas Health and Human Services offers shelter, food, and more. Relay Texas Services offers help to those who cannot use traditional phones due to hearing loss. TxDOT shares information about statewide road closures. Texas Department of Public Safety provides roadside assistance. If you cannot evacuate, be sure to reach out to local shelters in our area, such as the Red Cross. Darius McCormick, KAVU-TV, 25 News Now.
Coming up next, we're going to have a weather viewer poll, so get your cell phones ready because we want you to vote. We'll also take a look at a bird that flies into the hurricanes.
Hurricane maps can be picked up at these locations. In Cuero, Allied Feeds full of pep.
Recently, our meteorologist Scott Pitney got inside a Hurricane Hunter. This is the aircraft known as a C-130 that actually flies through the hurricanes. They gather valuable information that is dispatched to the National Hurricane Center to improve on the forecast.
Chief Master Sergeant Jay Latham.
Tell us what it's like to fly into a hurricane.
Flying through a hurricane is super exciting. It's really a dynamic environment. You're busy working most of the time, so there's not a lot of time to just look out the window and appreciate it. We do, and we get to see some amazing sights, some amazing weather. But we're really focused on gathering the data to provide that to the National Hurricane Center to improve their forecast.
We got a jet flying over right now.
Turbulence we experience is really no different from a traditional jet. You get bounced around. We do see different types of weather. Hail, lightning, those are all things we experience on a common, regular basis. Turbulence, yeah, we prepare for it, and we expect it. So the plane is rigged for it. We're in our seats with our seatbelts on. So we do everything we can to mitigate the turbulence. But it is sometimes you just get unexpected turbulence.
Yes. We are here today at Ellington Field to check out the C-130 aircraft that is also known as the Hurricane Hunter aircraft. I'm here with Jeff Lindner, who's the meteorologist for Harris County Flood Control.
It's really an education piece. It's, what watershed do I live in? What creek and bayou do I live by? So when we do have heavy rains, and it's not always going to be a tropical system, it's not always going to be a named storm. And so it's important that you know where you live in association with the waterways in the area. Also how to get information. Where do you go to get information that's flooding? We operate our flood warning system with our network of gauges across the region. And then also flood insurance. If you look at Harris County, even after Harvey, only about a third of residents in Harris County have flood insurance. And, we recommend everybody have flood insurance if you're in a floodplain or not. And that's because flooding can happen anywhere. As a matter of fact, 60% of the flooding that we have tends to happen outside of map floodplains. So
is that right? 60%?
60%. So
that's incredible.
Just because you're outside of a floodplain doesn't mean you're safe.
You can watch Storm Prep 2023 again on our digital streaming service, Crossroads Today Plus, and share it with your family and friends. You can find it on your connected TV through Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, and Android TV, and on your cell phone. Search Crossroads Today Plus. Well, stay with us, folks. We'll be coming up right back with the official NOAA prediction for the amount of hurricanes expected for the upcoming season. And we'll be talking to some experts on what you need to know to prepare for storm season 2023.
Hurricane maps can be picked up at these locations. In El Campo Cycle Center.
Every year, experts in the hurricane business try to predict how many named storms we're going to get. We've had years where we've had very few storms, and we've had years where we've run out of the alphabet. So what's it going to be this year? Colorado State University began forecasting the number of named storms about 20 years ago. Their accuracy is getting better and better. So what is going to be their forecast for this year? We said 25 News Now weekend anchor Adam Seibel to find out what CSU has predicted as of April 2023.
Dr. Phil Klotzbach, a research scientist at Colorado State University, leads the team that predicts the number of hurricanes each year. Many patiently awaiting that annual April 6th date for the predictions to come out.
The numbers just came out. How many storms are we looking at this year?
Yeah, we're forecasting a total of 13 storms named by the National Hurricane Center, so 13 named storms. Of those 13, 6 becoming hurricanes, and of those 6, 2 becoming major Category 3, 4, 5 hurricanes on the Saffir-Simpson scale. An average season is slightly more. It's 14 storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes.
One of the factors they monitor when making these predictions is, are we going to get El Nino type conditions this season?
Right now the Atlantic is quite warm, much warmer than normal in the eastern and central part. And when you have a warmer Atlantic, that provides more fuel for storms and also tends to be just a more conducive environment for thunderstorms, which are the building blocks of the hurricanes.
While Klotzbach is predicting hurricanes, Dr. Heather Holbeck, a research scientist with NOAA, is flying into them.
We can fly in to study these storms, and so we look at the different storms that are forming and to figure out which ones might be of interest to us on the research side. There's a lot of emotions that go along with it because you don't know what to expect. There's excitement because, these are massive storms sometimes, but there's also just a lot of fascination. You learn so much by getting out there and actually seeing these storms.
Klotzbach noting how drastic that change is when her team enters the eye of a hurricane.
One of the things that I find really fascinating is whenever you fly through the eye wall and go into the eye, the transition from turbulence to just completely smooth and calm happens so quickly.
All of this data going back to help scientists like Klotzbach predict storms and hurricanes. So whether we have a high or low outlook for a hurricane season, it's better to err on the side of caution as far as hurricanes are concerned.
The answer is you really need to be prepared the same for every hurricane season, regardless of our outlooks, NOAA's outlooks, anyone else's seasonal forecast, because, first of all, these forecasts certainly aren't perfect, and even if they are, we can't tell you exactly where those storms are going to go. So you need to be prepared the same for every year because it just takes that one storm making landfall near you to make it an active season.
So from research teams on the ground or the air, they're working to forecast more accurate data every year to give us a glimpse into severe weather and hurricanes. Adam Seibel, KAVU TV 25 News Now.
Well, we now have the Weather Viewer poll. We want to know what you think. Which one of these stories in Storm Prep 2023 did you find most helpful? Was it the one on hospitals, the one on Indianola, the one on protecting your home for the storm, the one on evacuation routes, hurricane aircraft, or interviews with the hurricane experts? To vote, go to crossroadstoday.com/voteweather, and we want to hear from you. Here's a look at some important information that you need to know in case a hurricane affects the Crossroads. The Crossroads Red Cross can be reached at 361-573-2671. And the Department of Public Safety can be reached at 361-578-3450. We have all the numbers you need on crossroadstoday.com. Well, thank you for joining us on this year's Storm Prep 2023.